Pilate is afraid that if he does not effectively handle the religious leaders of Israel, as he's trying to do in this passage, a rebellion will happen in the province he is supposed to keep in line. And if that happens, Pilate will be in deep trouble, like you're dead Pilate trouble. So, Pilate is terrified, the religious leaders of Israel are terrified, and the paralyzing fear they feel causes them to make irrational, immoral decisions that result in violence. The kind of violence that leads to the brutal execution of not only an innocent man, but the innocent Son of God, Jesus Christ. On the one hand, you might grant that Pilate and the religious leaders are terrified, and acknowledge that this fear prompted some terrible decisions. On the other hand, you might still secretly or not so secretly judge them for making the decisions that they do. Fair enough, because in the past I would have judged them too. But the more life I have lived, and the more I learn about fear and power, the less judgmental and the more self-aware I'm challenged to become. And with that, I'm able to say with a bit of self-awareness, if I were in their positions, I hope I would do the right thing, but I'm not so sure I would. Here's why. The kind of power at play in this scene, and the kind of power still present in our world today, produces a kind of fear that can paralyze the parts of ourselves that does the right thing, and activates the parts of ourselves that does nothing or the wrong thing when threats of death and or dismemberment discourage us from doing the right thing and encourages us to do nothing or the wrong thing. In other words, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn are all over these pages of Scripture. Pilate and the religious leaders are fighting, flighting, freezing, and falling all over the place because of the power present in their environment. And the same thing has happened throughout history and in our period of history too. So the question is, what would you do if you were the religious leaders in this passage? What would you do if you were Pilate? Be honest with yourself. I'll give you a moment to reflect on the answer to that question.